So in this video, we're going to be talking about the ATI Nova Liberty and specifically parts that for some reason Nova Vista did not want to provide for some, I don't know what the reason is, but provide the US market with parts, replacement parts, because we know all mechanical parts break at some point. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover an individual DUY, DarkCharisma. He's DarkCharisma on the GTA forum and on the Airgun Nation forum. And he is providing some of the most important parts that would fail or could break on this gun. I've been so interested in this particular gun because this was really the first sub $300 air gun, PCP air gun, that has an adjustable regulator, adjustable hammer spring. Yes, it's not externally adjustable. The hammer spring, you have to remove it from the stock. You do have to degas to adjust the regulator, and you have to stick a little pin on the side. But it is a side lever cocking, and it is extremely accurate. If you've seen some of my other videos, you know this gun is more than capable of shooting both pellets and slugs, sub MOA at 100 yards. I've done it more than once, and it is just a fabulous gun. So I love this gun so much that I've spent quite a bit of time making walnut stocks for it. Yes, I have. This is one of the first ones I made. It does have an adjustable cheek riser, and it is a thumb hole. This one is perhaps my favorite. This is the Sporter style. This was kind of modeled off of the Raw, the HM1000 Raw, and definitely this is my most accurate and comfortable. And last is the Bantam Style. This was modeled off of the Brocock Bantam. I just, again, went by eye. By the way, if you want to make your own stock, I do have a video detailing how to make a walnut stock for any air gun, or any gun for that matter. Again, it's a little bit time consuming. It's not super difficult, but it will take up a lot of your time. This is still a formidable gun. It's amazing. Again, the Gauntlet was the first sub $300 mass produced, but it was not a side lever. It was a bolt action. I had one of those, and look, it's a good gun. It's just I didn't like bolt action. I didn't like getting seized up on it. By the way, if you do have a Gauntlet and you're looking to make it a great gun, go to Hajimoto Productions. He's on YouTube. He's got his own website. He has a power tune that he does. He has all kinds of parts and fixes for the Gauntlet. So you go to him and he'll make your gun great. As for the Nova Liberty, we go to DUY. DUY, at least this is who I know. There might be other people, but DUY, DarkCharisma, has provided a bunch of fixes and power parts. Like he has a power plenum. I call it a power plenum. It's just a larger plenum. He has hammer weights, an adjustable hammer spring tensioner. He has a larger valve with a lighter valve spring and a thinner stem on the Poppet. He has an adjustable, a larger transfer port power adjuster, and I will go through all of these, and we are actually going to put them on this gun. This gun is a stock gun. I mean, stock, as you can see, I've already cut off a part of the shroud here to make it shorter. So is it stock? No. And I've also already drilled out the transfer port, but that's okay. I'll go through all of that. Last, we have a complete pack of O-rings from Captain O-Ring. This you can get on CaptainORing.com under the ATI Nova Liberty. And it is relatively inexpensive, but it has every single O-ring you need in order to replace them. But with that being said, let's go through all the parts and let's talk about how well they perform in this gun. I'll let you know that the best way to get a hold of DUY is via his phone number. You can text him, it's a cell phone. You can call or you can email. Here, I'll put some information right here. I'll also have it in the link below, so you can get a hold of him. And also you'll find him on GTA and Airgun Nation. I also like to make a mention about forums where I learn a lot, and I think you guys will benefit. Again, whether you're new or you're an expert, it doesn't really matter. It's a great place to go. The GTA forum, Gateway to Air Guns, Airgun Nation, great chat, another great forum. Stephen Archer, Ham, Hard Air Magazine, a great place, at least where I have learned to tune a gun. He has some in-depth articles, I believe by Bob Stern. He's also on GTA. I see him a lot on GTA. So check these out. Again, Hard Air Magazine, that's Stephen Archer, Gateway to Air Guns, and the Airgun Nation forums. Again, you can't go wrong. If you're not already part of it, join it, contribute, learn, ask questions. It's a great place to really get to understand how to use, adjust, maintain, fix, modify anything you need to do with air guns. That's the place to go. So now let's really talk about the meat of this video, which is parts and O-rings for the ATI Nova Liberty. So many of us have had problems. I know I did with my Poppet, leaking, O-rings. I mean, the gun had its issues. Some people told me I had no issue, bought the gun, it was excellent. It's still holding air 2 years later. I do have that. That is true of one of my guns. No issues, even the original Poppet, but I did change it out anyway, and I had no problems. The other two, I had leaks. Two Poppets leaked at the valve, and I had other little O-ring issues. So that being said, let me just first talk about O-rings. Captain O-ring, here we go, now offers a complete set of 177 and 22 ATI Nova Liberty O-rings. There's everything in there. It's the complete pack. I actually bought two of them because they're awesome. So if you're looking for that, Captain O-Ring's got them. I believe it's CaptainOring.com. Yep, CaptainOring.com. So in one of my earlier videos, I showed how I modified the power adjuster on the ATI Nova Liberty to get it to shoot from, you know, stock. It came in around 38 foot-pounds to about 43 foot-pounds. And basically what I did was, if you look here, I drilled out the center, right down the transfer port, right down this third hole here. And what that did do was open up the transfer port, but it made this power adjuster dangerous. And a few people, I didn't have a problem, but other people did, and it did break apart. So again, I've cautioned, and please don't do it unless you know what you're doing. Do not drill the power wheel, the transfer port power wheel that's here in my hand. It is just, it's not safe. But DUY, DarkCharisma, does make a power wheel that looks like this. Here we go. And that thing is gorgeous. That is steel, and it is a simple plug and play. You unscrew and replace with this. And the next item that many of us had issues with was the Poppet. The Poppet material in the original valve, that would be this one. Actually, this is slightly modified. But if I pull this out, and you see that Poppet material, that's the material that's right there on the inside. It was too soft. And what would happen was this lip right here would end up digging into the material, and eventually it wouldn't make a seal. So it would close up against it, and the metal would bottom out basically, and it would leak. So that was a problem with the Poppet material in the original valve and stem. Well, DUY, DarkCharisma, has created two types. One is a brass and one is stainless steel. This is a brass one right here. Let's see, hopefully you're seeing that. With what he uses is PEEK. PEEK is a type of plastic, very, very strong. Delrin is another type, but I don't think Delrin is as strong as PEEK. Again, I'm new to this and I'm learning about the different materials, but PEEK has not leaked on me. It's worked very, very well. Here is the stainless steel one. And by the way, one thing I have to tell you about these valves, they are polished so smooth. Let's see if I can get you to look inside there. I'm gonna kind of move it. Let's see. And it is so perfect. Not only are they polished, but the inside is beveled so that the air goes in a kind of 45 degree. It doesn't just bang up against the back and then go up the valve, out the transfer port. No, what it does is it kind of has this smooth transition, and that's what makes these valves so good. And by the way, you will get a lot of extra power with these valves. Now, again, More power usually means more air. You're using more air, and that is true. So you're going to have to find a balance that works for you. If the next item, which is really, really cool. Now, again, I have a video out there where I made a power adjuster. Very crude and simple. This would just fit into the back of the block here, and I didn't even have it pinned down. I just used the walnut stock to hold it in place. Well, look at what Dewey has done. He has two, see that? This is the back of it. He has two pins so that you can drill the holes a little larger, and these fit right in there. They go in flush, so you can power adjust the hammer spring even in the plastic stock. Okay, you can always drill a hole in the back, and I'll show you. I'm going to do it on this gun. Dewey also offers here hammer spring weights. Hopefully you're seeing that right there, and hopefully that's clear. And those just fit inside of the hammer spring very simply and increase the amount of force behind your hammer. The last item, which is pretty amazing, and again, this may not be for everybody. This is probably going to be for the power users. This is an increased plenum. This is a 15 or 16 cc plenum. Whoops, good catch. I'll show you the inside. Again, very well made. It's very, very durable. So yes, it has a larger diameter. This is a 1.2 inch diameter. It will fit inside the stock, but you'll have to modify it, whether it's the wood or the plastic. A larger plenum will give you more power because it has more volume sitting there at the regulated pressure, and therefore versus I think the original is like 8 cc's or 7 cc's, very, very little. So having almost double the cc's will provide you, again, more air overall, but more regulated air, which provides a better shot count. Plus, you won't have to put the regulator up that high if you use the larger plenum, because you can bring down your regulator and your hammer for that. You want to balance your hammer and your regulator and kind of get the same power and more shots. So it might be worth it. It may not be for everyone. It is, I would call this kind of an advanced modification, at least for me, but not a big deal. You screw it on. The hardest, when I say advanced, it's advanced because you have to modify your stock. If you're okay modifying your stock, then it's not advanced. It's pretty easy to do. But again, all of these items are pretty much plug and play. You just unscrew, put them in, and you're good to go. So with that being said, let's get into putting this all together. This gun is full of air, so I will take it out of the stock, degas it, take it out of the stock. We'll go step by step. I will speed up the process so you're not totally bored, and we'll get right to the meat of making these modifications. So let's get right to putting these parts in this gun. I'll walk you through it. Again, I'll fast forward through the boring parts. Before you ever attempt to work on a gun, please degas it, get the air out. You really can't hurt yourself that much once the air is out. But messing with a gun that has 3,000–4,000 pounds of pressure in it, don't do it. All right, so with this gun, we'll turn it upside down. This is very, very simple. Just take your screwdriver, back off. There's a pressure release here. Just back it off. Wait for it. Just crack it. Give it time. And remember, check your gauge when it's done. Something you may want to do as well is cock the lever back so that there's no pressure on the poppet, so at the end it won't scare you. So once the air has been released, just safely decock it. Again, point it in safe direction. Take a look at the gauge. Again, I'm going to shoot it into what I know is a safe location there. Good. That tells me we are completely empty. We're out of air. Let's take the stock off. All right, there we go. And that is removed. All right, so to make it easier to work on, I'm actually going to take the barrel, the air tube, and the regulator out. I mean, we have to take the regulator out anyway to put the valve in, but it'll make it easier when I have to do some drilling on the hammer spring. Here, let's see, do you see that? The hammer spring adjuster. So let's take it apart. Can you see there? Yep. So let's take off these 3 barrel grub screws. 2 of them are 2.5, and 1 of them is a 3. And the reason this one is a 3, this last one here takes you right down to the transfer port. So I'm going to remove the 3rd one completely. Let's just pull the barrel out. All right, put that over there. You stay there. Okay, now we're all, again, let's just double check. No air. We know there's no air. I'm going to start by unscrewing the plenum. That is this piece right here. And again, if there were any air in there, it would be rushing out. So there's no air. Okay, so here is the plenum. As a comparison, here you can see it right there. There's a difference of the two. All right, it's quite different. So Dewey's plenum here, this one is a 15cc. I believe he has a 20 as well. So I opted for the, I think this is a little smaller, but check this out. This is interesting. So I'm gonna unscrew this in front of you here. So here are the 2 plenums. The stock ATI plenum actually fits inside of Dewey's plenum, so it's quite a big difference. The diameters are definitely different. This is just about less than an inch, 7/8 I believe. So the stock plenum is 7/8 of an inch while in diameter, while the Dewey's plenum is this one is 1.3 inches. I believe he has another one that might be a little smaller than this. But again, if you're going to be putting this on your Liberty and in your stock, whether the plastic or the wood, you're going to have to modify the stock. I think the plastic one shouldn't be that hard. I am going to do that here. The wood one, you'll need to do some woodworking to fit it in. Let's now remove the air tube. Okay. Okay, let's put that aside. So now let's remove this drop block, which has the Delrin brass adjuster here for the valve. You can turn it counterclockwise. The entire valve should come with it. Yes, here it is. Because what you do is you crank it down. When you're putting it back, you crank the valve back into the drop block here. I call it the drop block here, so you can see how it's coming out, just counterclockwise. Again, be gentle with everything. Don't force anything. There you go. That is your regulator. I called it a valve, sorry. This is your regulator and the drop block. We'll put that aside. Again, nothing should change. Now again, so when you put this back into your gun, nothing should change because this regulator is tightened down to this block, okay? So your regulator adjustment should not change. And do not spin the brass here. Leave it where it is, and you should have no problems. If you had it set to 25, I believe I had mine set to 2500 PSI, it's still 2500 PSI when you put it back. Nothing should change. Okay, so now the receiver here, obviously, and then again, why you degas, this is completely safe to work with. You don't have to worry. The second thing we want to do now is take out the hammer spring and the retainer. So let's just take a punch here and knock it out. There we go. It shouldn't be too hard. It's just a pin. There you go. And if you just pull it back, keep your finger there, comes out. So here is the hammer spring. I have 2 shims on it. Again, from an earlier video, you know shimming it gives it a little more tension. If you raise the regulator, you probably want to raise the tension on the hammer spring. You want to keep those balanced. But let's put that aside because we'll be changing that. All right, so now we're going to take out the valve poppet and spring. Pair of needle nose pliers. Let's see, you can see there. Very gently, don't, just grab it. It comes out very, very easy. This is actually a replacement one. the original Poppet looks like. So you kind of get a sense there. So I already have a peak Poppet that I replaced in this one, even though it has the brass valve. The next thing we want to do is take apart the trigger assembly. Let's start by taking out the trigger. There are 3 pins. The first one is the actual trigger that's in the front here, in front of the safety. So just take it and push, let's see. There you go, comes out pretty easy. Keep your finger on the trigger so it doesn't all come apart. On the other side, there's the pin, put it aside, and the trigger assembly will come out. Now mine, I have, it's been modified. It's like Frankenstein, but anyway, that's what I did with mine. Different spring and all that stuff. So right down here is a 2.5 millimeter nut. Shouldn't get tight. Okay. Unscrew that. That will come out. There was a pin holding the sear here that already came out, so the whole assembly came apart. Put that on the side there. So the next thing you want to do is you want to open the cocking lever and you want to remove this brass pin here. There's a screw underneath. Now I made a cut in mine so that I can get it off quite easily. Otherwise it's kind of hard to grab. You have to use your finger as tension. There it goes, that came out. Put that there. Let's push this out. There goes the brass. So there's a, whoops, let's see, there you go. So there's the brass pin and screw for the cocking lever. Make sure you keep that aside. Slide the probe forward. What you want to do is you want to remove this nut right here. Okay, there goes that. Now that will allow the cocking lever to come apart. Okay, so now what you want to do is take your hammer out, put that on the side. So the next thing you want to do is remove the grub screw holding in the valve. That's a 2 millimeter. It's on the bottom here. Just crank it counterclockwise. You don't have to take it out completely. Then what we'll do is, with a piece of pine dowel, go in from the front, and we're going to knock out gently. There it goes. Knock out the valve. Whoops. Are you seeing that? Oh, there you go. So there's the valve. This one actually is one of my modified valves, but Dewey's is much better. Look at this thing. It's terrible. Anyway, that's what I did. So we're going to leave the fill probe in place. There's no need to take that out. It's actually quite difficult to get that out, so we'll leave that alone. With a 1.5 millimeter, let's remove the stock power adjuster on the other side. There's a 1.5 millimeter. Comes out very easily. Okay, slides out. There you go. Look at that little tiny hole. Okay, so hopefully you're seeing how small that hole is. Put it back together, put it aside for safekeeping. So now we're going to start putting everything back together, but before we do, we're going to talk about the transfer port. Down here in the third, in the third hole, the hole closest to the magazine, I have an O-ring in there, so we're going to push that O-ring in, and here it is. Now that O-ring is important. In my first video, I didn't know what that O-ring did. What that O-ring does is it keeps air from escaping, because remember, it goes around the barrel, out the top of this nut, so you want to use that O-ring. Let's pull the probe back a little bit. Here you go. And I have already drilled out this piece right here. One of the things you'll have to do if you do buy Dewey's beefier transfer port with the larger transfer port hole, which I believe is, I think this is 732s, yeah, 7/32. So he has it drilled to about 7/32. That fits pretty good. The stock transfer port is 11/64s, yes, so it's quite a bit smaller. So you're going to drill it out. Now that also means the transfer port here, let's show you here. The transfer port in here that goes down, see, goes, so you have the power wheel that goes through there, and the transfer port that goes directly down through there. Now, stock, I believe it's 1164s, if I'm not mistaken. So I have already drilled it, and I have a video, an earlier video that shows what I did. I just took a few step drill bits and I went through it. So mine is already, if you look down there, you know, you should see you see the bit down in there, okay? And I already have it, the transfer port is already drilled to 7/32. I keep looking down because I had to write it down. So I'm already good to go. You can do it with just your regular drill and some high-speed steel drill bits. This is aluminum. It's very easy to go through. Make sure you don't bottom out. You don't want to hit the bottom of the block. So take it slow, do it 2 steps. So with that being done, hopefully you already did yours. Let's now go and reassemble. Let's put on, we'll put the stock transfer port aside, and let's put Dewey's, for some reason this camera shows it better. So here is the stock, here is Dewey's steel transfer port, a nut, and a spacer. Let's put it together. Hopefully you're seeing it there. And again, it already has a hole, a notch in it, so you can't make a mistake, which matches up with this protrusion here. Gently. By the way, it's a good idea to put a little bit of silicone grease on there. I use some Trident. Here we are. There we go. I have some Trident silicone grease that I use. Again, very little, you know, just a bit, just to lubricate. You don't want to get it all messy. All right, and let's put that in place. There you go. Gentle, gentle. So again, this is a plug and play. That's it. There's a tight fit right there. Now on the other side, you'll take the white, I guess this is Delrin or plastic washer. Your nut, it's a Phillips nut. I'm holding it with my finger on the other side. And tighten down. That's pretty easy. Now it's always set to high. So this is no longer adjustable. But again, you'll adjust it using your hammer spring. I always thought that the transfer port should have just been a fixed transfer port anyway. You never want to really adjust power using a transfer port, because even when you tighten that hole, you're not saving air. You're wasting, you're restricting the air, but it's still the same amount of air is getting through, and there's a lot of dwell. So anyway, this is a great way to do it. So that is the transfer port. Next item, I'm going to put the stainless steel. Now I have 2 options here, okay? I have a brass and a stainless steel. I'm going to put the stainless steel, which is a little bit bigger. The brass one he made for me a while back, so I'm going to put the larger stainless steel in because I'm pretty much maxing out the power on this one. I'm going to be using the stainless steel valve that you see here. And what we're going to do is take the stem out first. Let's put a little bit of silicone grease on the O-rings. Again, not too much. You just need to coat it mildly. And what you're going to do is you're going to need to make a mark to denote the top, so that when you put it inside of the block, you can actually see that it's at least in a general upright position. What I'm going to do is, my technique, I'll let you see here. I'm just going to start to place it gently at like somewhat of a level, so it doesn't just fall in right away. Okay. And I'm going to try to drive it in a straight, yeah, that's good. And what you want to do is, you don't want to hurt the surface because it is polished. So use a large wood, pine dowel, and gently coax it in place. There we go. And before I push it in, let's see if you can see that. I have it in the up position. I made a little mark. Here, let's try there. Maybe here you'll see it. There you go. So I have it in the up position, so I know it is correct. And I'm going to try to seat it. There we go. Nice and gentle. And I think it's seated. Now to check that it is seated, I'm going to use a flashlight and confirm that I can see the mark. Yep, it's in place. So now that we have the valve in place and I can see it's properly in the right, I don't know if you can see that, let's see. So there it is, and I can tell because we can see through this hole here above my finger that I can see the little cut in the bottom of the valve. So what we're gonna do is put the little grub screw in place, tighten it down. I'm going to be looking down the hole just to make sure it doesn't move out of place, and it's good. Okay, and then I'm going to double check. I am going to send the 7/32 bit down through the top hole here, okay, through the transfer port and into the valve. So I'm going to be very delicate about this. I can feel it going down. Yep, and if you look, let's see, let's get a focus. There we go. Now if you look in there, you should see the bit. There it is. I'm hoping you're seeing the bit. It's at the very top. Here, I'll move it just a little. Okay. And it's very much at the top. So the point is, I know I'm all aligned. Transfer port, valve, everything, and they're all 7/32 all the way through and through. So you have no, remember, what's really important in doing this kind of tunes is that it's very smooth, that there's no turbulence, there's no lips. So when the air is coming out of the valve, if your transfer port is smaller and your valve port is bigger, when the air comes up, it's going to hit up against that lip because it's like a funnel. If it's not smooth, it's going to create all this turbulent air. And that is not good for power or efficiency or for anything. It's not good. So you want it to be really smooth. Now, you can also take very fine, like 1100, 2000 grit paper, whatever you want, anywhere in that range, and get in there and gently smooth it out if you're really, really anal about it. Me, this is good enough. I know it's pretty smooth. When I drilled it, I did a little bit of sandpaper filing, and I'm good. So, valve is in place. Now what we'll do is we'll drop the stem in. All right, just with my finger. So now, let's see. Okay, so now the stem and the spring are in place. So before we put the valve back, what I'm going to do now is we're going to drill for, here we go. So we're going to drill the 2 holes, the retaining holes for the hammer spring adjuster. So I've measured the 2 screws here that we have on the side, and DUY shortened them. Here, let me show you right here. 2 screws, and the head is also 7/32. We're going to drill the 2 holes on either side here to 7/32 and try to keep them in the center. So remember, it only goes one way. Here is the block, and if you turn it upside down, the holes won't line up. Even though the block fits, you want to make sure it's the right way. Okay, and just take a look and make sure that the holes line up, and they do. So what we'll do is we're going to drill it in 3 steps. Okay, I'm not going to just try to make the hole go right to 7/32. We're going to 1 step at a time. So just make sure that you're on a flat platform and it's sturdy. And what we're going to do is we're going to drill it. You're going to be perpendicular. I'm going to stand up so you won't be seeing my face. You'll just see my hands here. Hopefully you're seeing me there. I'm going to put my hand. I'm going to try to go nice and slow. Don't put too much force. Okay, it's one side. Okay, and it looks good. We're going to turn it over. Now we're going to step up. Next bit size. Tight. Again, measure, make sure. And there we go. Now that we have the holes drilled, let's clean up the hammer use a little bit of liquid moly on it, metal on metal. I like really using that. Not too much, just a very, very light coat. There you go, not using too much. Okay, a little bit on the back. And that's it, it's just a really, really light coating. Send the hammer down. Now let's put back, this will retain the hammer. Little screw there, you seeing it? All right, good, let's move that out of the way. Just gonna put that right back in place. I'm holding it with my finger. Again, I believe that tighten it there. Don't over tighten any of these screws. Remember, this is aluminum. Just a little tightening, good. All right, let's put the probe back. You have your brass pin and your screw to hold it in place. All right, once you have the brass pin in, hold it with your finger, turn it upside down, place the screw in place, use a very small Phillips, and start to turn that. Again, now it's spinning. I can feel the brass spinning on the other side. So what I'm going to do, I have a little cut in mine. Here, let's see, you'll see it right there. So do you see that cut on the brass? That allows me to use a flathead on one side and a Phillips on the other, tighten it down a bit. Now you can use some Loctite, but I don't like using Loctite because if you have to get it open again, you won't be able to. So if you're going to use the blue Loctite, not the red. The red is very, very strong. And there we go. We have it in place. There you go. All right, now it's nice and in place. All right, now let's put the hammer spring in place. So we're going to take this old plastic one with the shims, put it aside. We don't need that. Let's drop that into the hammer. Let's put our new adjustable one in place there. And it fits really nice. The holes are in the right place. Let's put our two retaining screws, Allen screws. These are supplied by DUY as well. Let's see, hopefully you're... All right, on the back, one screw on one side, one screw on the other. And now you can make adjustments to it. You could, I think right now it's completely backed out. Now let's put the trigger assembly back. We'll start by, there's a little sear here. You have to line up this sear in this slot here and use one of the pins. This is always a challenge. Sear in place. There we go. Okay, so now, see the sear, there's a spring that's attached to the sear. Let's see. Hopefully you're seeing that, and I'm pulling on it and it's not coming apart. Now what you want to do is put it in place, hold it down, don't make that pin, don't allow this pin to come out. Our nut back. That's in the front here, right in the front. Okay. And that should be somewhat tight. Now let's put, this is my Frankenstein trigger assembly. These pieces of white plastic sheet that I put on are there to take out the side-to-side slop that I don't like in my trigger. So they keep it kind of nice and tight. Now let's align it. Let's put the pin back. Okay, hopefully you're seeing that there. Let's see there. Just try, there we go. Once it's aligned, you know, just flatten that out, piece of wood. So now we should be able to cock it. Good. Let's just test it out. Good. All right, so we're good to go. Let's put the stem back in place there. Now connect. Again, we didn't touch anything here, so the regulator and the drop block should. I'm not even going to put any more silicone because I think it's okay. I didn't take any off. I did clean it, but we have some. Okay, tighten it down. Remember, you're going to go just before the gap between the block and the receiver. Close one half turn, and I think that's it, because if you go any more, you will bottom out and you won't end up with the block being on the bottom here. Let's take the air tube, let's give that a little cleaning. Silicone grease, let's screw that in. Remember, we didn't change anything with the regulator, so we're okay. Here we go. Tighten that down. Remember, you're holding on to the block, not the receiver, because it'll spin. Just give it a nice hand tighten, it's fine. Okay. We'll put the plenum on last. And what I'll do now is put the barrel on. Little bit of silicone grease. Let's put back the bottom bracket. We'll just use it as a placeholder so it keeps a gap between the barrel. Let's put it in place. I'm keeping the point up top, and you'll look down the transfer port hole to make sure you got it in the right place. Again, gentle twist, gentle, hold on to the receiver. All right, good, we're looking good. Okay, now what I'm going to do is put on the barrel band as well. So we have them both together and aligned. And I'm going to tighten them down so they don't keep moving. Let's put this aside. Okay, I'm going to keep them pinched. And we'll put the, I know this one may move because you have to put it into the stock, so don't over tighten that one. But this one, somewhere about 5 inches from the end, is more than enough. We'll tighten down that barrel band, not too much, and good. All right, last thing to do is the plenum. Now, you can put back, if you didn't get the power plenum here, the 15 cc's, and I think this is about 7 cc's or so, or 6, something like that. Put that aside. Remember your O-ring. Give it a little bit of silicone, just a little bit. Put it in place. Okay, make sure it's there. I'm going to turn it upside down so I don't lose my O-ring. There you go. Hopefully you're seeing it. There you go. Just screw that in place. Again, hand tighten is more than enough. You don't have to really ratchet down on it. Good. All right, squash the O-ring. Looking good. Make sure the bottom is closed fully. This is my bleed valve. The bleed valve is open. We'll tighten that down as well. Okay, let's tighten that down just a little bit. Hold on to the drop block here. Again, you don't have to kill it. We're not using any weights. We'll keep those on the side. And, well, there you have pretty much the completed upgrade. We have the transfer port, stainless steel from DUY. We have the hammer adjuster, aluminum with a steel bolt. We have the stainless steel valve with the peak poppet and a lighter valve spring and a thinner valve stem. Also have here the power plenum, which sticks out, as you can see. Let's see, look at it there. Here, right. Okay, looking at it there, it kind of sticks out a bit. And again, you're going to have to modify your stock a little bit. We'll take this and we'll spend a little time putting it into the stock. The gun has been reassembled with all of DUY's parts. It has the power valve with the peak, smaller stem poppet, and lighter valve spring. It has the adjustable hammer spring, which you can now adjust from the back. Let's see. See that little hole right there? Let me see, let's aim it. There you go. Okay. And it also has the power plenum, so you can see it right there. and it actually doesn't fit that bad. It only sticks out maybe an eighth of an inch, but it is so smooth. Yeah, it's like, I mean, you could even hold it, you know, if you had to, it wouldn't bother you to hold it at the plenum. So you don't have this big tube or plenum sticking out the bottom here. Let's see, look at that one more time. See that? Right here? Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. So now that I've got it all together, let's shoot it. Let's see what we get for a shot string. I know I've tested it before. The first time I got 76 foot-pounds of energy for about 6 shots at 3,800 PSI. Now the second string I did get up to 71 foot-pound, brought it down to 71 foot-pounds of energy for about 9 shots. And then on a third string, I wanted to bring it down to 55, 60 foot-pounds of energy, hoping to get at least 20, 25 shots. That should be very doable with the bigger plenum, and you know, if you tune it properly. So now that I have the gun back together, I want to do a shot string. The gun has been sitting around for about a week. I just took a photo of the manometer on the gun, and we are at roughly 3,900 PSI. So what I'm going to do is 2 shot strings using 40 grain slugs and using 34 grain slugs. Again, these are my AVS slugs, so I have an endless supply. But what I'm going to do is first go for maximum power. Then I want to take it down to somewhere around 55 foot-pounds of energy, roughly. If it's more or less, whatever, that's fine. But roughly around 55 foot-pounds of energy with the 34 grains, and see how many shots we get with that. So let's do the 40 grain. Now generally I take 1 shot just to let the regulator set in. I'm not going to do that this time. I'm just going to shoot away. I have the hammer spring set, not all the way down, of course, somewhat about 2 turns in. $8.29. Okay, that wasn't good. There we go. Very interesting. 8.29 on the first shot, which I usually just fired off to kind of clear the reg, and you saw it very low. Now it's at 955. That's with a 40 grain slug. Wow. So that is probably about 80 foot-pounds of energy. Wow. I don't know if that's an anomaly, but we'll shoot through the shot string some more and see what happens. That was the second shot. Let's continue on. 897, 898. That's more like 70 foot-pounds, 71 foot-pounds of energy. So that's where it should be. I don't know why that spike happened, but let's continue on. 940. 952. 939. 947. 948. That's, I believe, 8 shots. 942. And that's 9 shots. 932. And that's 10 shots. I expect this next one to fall off the reg. Let's see. Almost 939. Okay. Let's see how many more shots. I'm surprised I'm getting this many shots. I think this is somewhere around 77 foot-pounds of energy. Maybe 78. I don't know. $938. 12th shot. 937. This is surprisingly consistent. I think that's the 13th shot. The first one was a throwaway. Okay. 14th shot. 932. I think we're starting to fall off the reg. The next one's going to fall off the reg. 923. I think at this point we've fallen off the reg. I believe it's 15 good shots. Throw away the first one. We are talking Somewhere around 76, 77 foot. I'll do the actual calculations, but this is about 77 foot-pounds of energy. Let me take a picture of the manometer, see where we're at. Should be around 2,800. So, as you can see from the shot string and taking a picture of the manometer at the front here of the air tube, the regulator is probably set around 2,800 psi, roughly, maybe slightly higher, because you see it falling off. And our first shot was somewhere around 80 foot-pounds. And the rest of these shots are around 76, 77 foot-pounds of energy. That's for 15 shots out of a 200cc air tube with Dewey's larger 15cc plenum. So you can see how the plenum adds power and efficiency. Now what I want to do for my next shot string is use the 34 grain slug, so enough of these 40 grains. And let's see if we can get it down to about 60 foot-pounds or 55 foot-pounds of energy. And let's see how many shots we get with that. I'll fill it up again. Yeah, my tank should be good for a good 3,800 psi fill. And let's see what we get. So let's do another shot string with the 34 grain. So I'm now going to turn the hammer spring down to reduce the energy so I can achieve somewhere around 55 to 60 foot-pounds of energy with a 34 grain slug. I mean, ideally you'd want to turn down the regulator as well if you're going to turn down the hammer spring, because you don't really need that much force. But what I'm going to do, so it's not the most efficient way to do it, but we're going to lower the energy, see how many shots we get with this current setup. It's not an ideal tune, but it's a fine tune, and let's see what we get. Okay, so I have the air tube filled to 3,900 psi, and we're going to shoot the 34 grain slugs. I've reduced the hammer spring. We're roughly at around 62 foot-pounds of energy. Let's see how many shots and let's see how consistent the shot string is. We know the regulator is set at 2,800, so we're going to shoot it down to the regulator's set point. 716. All right, that's the first shot, throwaway. Okay, 822. 888. Okay, there we go. Roughly around 62 foot-pounds of energy. 60. 867. 899. 895. 914. Boy, it's kind of all over the place. 936. 919. 943. 932. 929. 936. 946. It's a little higher up there. 963. I heard that one. That was more powerful. 950. 955. 954. 959. Somewhat leveled out. 966. 960. 951. Wow. 968. 957. 25 shots. 947. We're at 25 shots. 933. I suspect we're about to fall off the regulator if we already haven't. One more shot. 918. At this point, I think it's 26 or 26 shots. We just fell off the regulator, so that's 25 shots, good shots, on the regulator at this current tune. Now, I can tell you that if you lower the regulator and match up the hammer spring tension to the regulator, to the pressure, you should be able to eke out a few more shots, a little more consistent. So 25 shots at roughly around 67 foot-pounds of energy on average. It's pretty good. I can, again, if I lower the regulator, match up the hammer spring to the because there's a very light valve spring in there. The Poppet has a very, very light spring, so you don't really need to hit it that hard. It's the pressure behind it, the regulator pressure, 2800, is holding that poppet in place and forcing me to hit it harder. But we could probably lower it a little bit and maybe leave the hammer spring where it was, or bring it down a little more, and you'll find that you'll have a really sweet tune. Probably get about 27 shots, 28 shots at 65, roughly 65 foot-pounds of energy. And again, if you decide that it might be too much for you to tune, remember, Dewey will do a tune for you. Just let him know what you want. If you're going to buy all the parts from him and have him install it, I believe, which he does, you can also ask him, could you make it 60 foot-pounds of energy with, this weight of a slug or a pellet, and he'll gladly do that for you. But again, it looks great. I really like the way everything came out. Now, you can even put this into a Woodstock. Now, for the Woodstock, let me show you. So, for the Woodstock, you would have to drill out, now, the plenum, let me put it right here. Okay, this hole here is for the plenum. Now, that was the original, let's see. So that was the original plenum. Here it goes, and it just falls in there. You see that? I think you're seeing in this camera here. Now, if you wanted to get this into the Woodstock, you're going to have to do some woodworking to open up the hole to make it fit the inch, I believe, 1.25 inch diameter of Dewey's larger plenum. If you do not use Dewey's larger plenum, let's say you just get his valve and stem, lighter spring, and the hammer spring adjuster, well, there's really nothing else to do because it's all plug and play. Only the plenum will require some modification, as I have done here. So on this gun, I did have to kind of Dremel out the plastic, but again, not that hard to do. There is one last item that Dewey does make, and he's just sent this to me. This is a drop block to turn your ATI Nova Liberty into a bottle gun. Now, I have not taken the time to put this together and try it out. I do not have a bottle with a Ninja regulator on it. I believe this will replace the regulated block and tube, and this will go right into the receiver, and your air bottle will go here, drop down here, and I guess he'll make some kind of bracket for, to stabilize both the bottle and the barrel. But again, this is a prototype that he sent me. He will be making, here, let me show you what these look like. Here's what it looks like. Got enough light there. So this is the Ninja side. This is the side that will go into the block right here. And it's aluminum. It seems like it's, I don't know if this is, no, this is aluminum. I believe this is aluminum. It's an aluminum block. And it comes with one O-ring, I see, which would probably seal inside of the receiver. But again, I just wanted to make you aware that you can even turn your Nova Liberty into a bottle gun if you wanted. If you want more details, again, contact Dewey. He'll give you all the details, and if you want him to install it, I'm sure he can do that as well. So just to recap, if you're looking to get parts for your Nova Liberty, and right now, unfortunately, ATI and Nova Vista are not supplying. I don't know why. Hope they do at some point, but even if they don't, right now you can go to Dewey, DarkCharisma. Here is his information. You can get replacement parts, better parts, power parts, larger plenum, hammer spring adjuster. He can do it for you, or if you are relatively savvy in working on your own gun, you don't have to be a genius. It's pretty easy stuff, and you know how to use a drill. You can pretty much put most of the parts in yourself, but otherwise you can have Dewey do it, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video.